Live from MMA Fighting Studios, this is Between the Links. And now, your host, Mike Heck.
The iconic voice of Esterlin welcomes you to a brand new edition of Between the Links. Yes, we are BTLing again on another Thursday, this time a little later in the afternoon. And man, it's been a pretty crazy week in the world of MMA. Who knew that UFC Vegas 107 would create such long-lasting storylines? But not only that, Tom Aspinall's out here saying stuff. UFC 316 is 2 days away. A lot to unpack with that one. Lots to discuss. And we have ourselves a good old-fashioned BTL bout this week. And contrary to my horrific editorial skills, I will not be hosting and playing the game at the same time. So it's been updated, as you'll see right now. But let us introduce the combatants. First, he's Mr. No Gray Area. He's the hot take kid, the co-host of the watch parties, Mr. No Bets Bard, the climber of all climbers, the frigging Edmund Hillary of the MMA space from MMAfighting.com, Mr. Jed Meshew. Hello, sir.
Now that's a good one. I need you to add another one because people are starting to listen to me now, Mike. I am the chief consultant for all people. I was wearing my PFL shirt earlier today, intended to wear it on this fine program, and then lunch got in the way and decided not to wear a stained shirt here. Tom Aspinall out here doing a thing I told him to do literal months ago. Everybody's just doing what I say now, and the sport's better off for it. Happy to be here.
And his opponent, and joining us for the first time in an official capacity. He did do a run-in once on the program, but now he is here to compete. This guy is everywhere calling fights and just getting after it, and also pissing some people off on social media. Any chance he gets, he's the one, the only, Ben the Bane Davis. Ben, how are you, buddy? Hurting people's feelings with the pipes.
Good God.
I'm fantastic. Dogs loose, baby. I'm in the yard. I want a bone, and I know Jed's got one for me.
I don't stand a chance. Look at the pipes. What are those, like 12-inch pythons over there? Just monsters.
Testosterone replacement therapy. All from Johnny Bones, baby. We're ready to rumble.
Yes, he's teaming up with Alexander Shobley. Sorry, Casey, too soon. But let's
Casey, will Shobley be dropped in the rankings, or
great question.
Do you like him more now because he's cheating, which means he's trying?
Hey, let's focus on Between the Links, all right? But this is not a rankings podcast. This is a
I
bump
can't wait
in
for that.
the
Well, we
road.
are going to talk about women's bantamweight on this show, so it's kind of a rankings podcast, Casey.
That's true. Oh my gosh. All right, well, let's get into it, because let's start with what happened at UFC Vegas 107. And I was stunned that we would even be talking about this card in the fallout, because we've had some time to digest it. Because let's be honest, UFC Vegas 107 was bad. No bones about it. Were there some solid performances? Yes. Was there a barn burner or two? Certainly. Was it the worst card on paper this year or an execution? No. But nobody really remembers anything about it outside of the fight in the main event that didn't happen between Erin Blanchfield and Maycee Barber. And Ben, we're watching on Saturday. We get the promo video right before the fight's about to start. Then we go to the desk, and Brendan Fitzgerald's like, we got to go to commercial break right now because Maycee Barber's supposed to walk out, and now she's not. And they come back from commercial break. The fight is canceled. It is off at the last minute. So whether you're watching or not, Ben, I'm sure you were seeing it on social media. What was your reaction to this on Saturday night? This is not the first time this has happened in UFC history where a fight is canceled at the last second. But considering the heat here and things that were said and everything that happened, how did you react to it?
To your point, UFC 175, Mitrione and Struve had kind of a similar fallout, right? But main event, falling apart at the last minute. That's certainly unprecedented. I'd say positive. Let's aim for the positives here. Neither fighter's winning streak is compromised, so both Barber and Blanchfield keep that intact. And guys, we got a Ludwig Klein main event. Who can complain? The Kleinster getting his own main event on incredibly short notice. No, I mean the I would say the biggest positive here is that we can still talk about what was a very, I would say, dead in the water main event that didn't really have many fans riled up. But like you mentioned, Mike, we're here still chit chatting about it, and the fight didn't even happen. So, I guess that's a positive in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, what a bummer. Glad that Maycee is, up doing interviews and not compromised in the hospital. But geez, Louise, would have been nice to have that top 5 matchup.
Jed, you got an early Christmas present from Alexander Kaylee because you had the night off on Saturday, which I know you were incredibly thankful.
It was great.
But
it was
you
really nice.
But you knew it was going on. You were on MMAfighting.com, great website, following along. You were on the Slack channels. I'm sure you were following social media as this all transpired. What was your reaction on Saturday when you found out this fight wasn't happening, even though you probably wouldn't have watched it anyways?
My reaction, honestly, was I'm a genius because many weeks every year at this point, I'm like, hey guys, don't watch. You don't need to. If you got nothing else to do, watch. But otherwise, go to MMAfighting.com and we'll let you know the important things, and you can save hours of your life and do something else and still kind of be in the know. And that's exactly what I did. I only watched one fight, and I didn't watch that whole fight on Saturday. I watched half of Mateusz Gamrot Ludwig Klein, the main event, I suppose, actually, because that was my climb for the week, was the over 1.5. And as soon as we hit that, I was like, well, this sure is a Mateusz Gamrot fight, so I'm going to move on with my time and go back to watching Mission Impossible movies. And then I peeked in. I was like, oh, let's go to MMAfighting.com. Let's see if the fight's about to be on, I'll watch at least a little bit of the Blanchfield Barber. And then it was like, oh, guess I won't be doing that. And moving on with my day. It was great to not be living in this moment, frankly. And that is my big takeaway, is that. And then this sucks because there's just nothing good happened here, right? They didn't fight. We didn't get resolution. Erin Blanchfield justifiably pretty upset, even if I don't love the things she said, right? She had some personal issue with Maycee Barber beforehand. And so then to have sort of an animosity that doesn't get resolved, and through no fault of your own for it to not get resolved, I can see you being, angry, but at the same time, not really sure her comments are valid, right? Her life is a mess. She needs to get it in order. Yes, she missed weight, and that is absolutely unprofessional, but still a little bit opaque as to what actually happened. That was the Barber statement was so weird, where it still wasn't even clear. She's like, they said it was kind of like a seizure. It's like, well, I don't know. People were back there. Just tell us what happened. What was the physical impediment? And we still don't have that. So it seems like this was, some sort of a genuine serious medical issue. And so Erin Blanchfield's comments are a little in poor taste to some extent, but you can also understand where she's coming from. And it just kind of sucks because this fight made sense. It was a good fight. We're not getting it. And now I don't know what we're getting with Maycee Barber's career. Her health obviously comes first. Blanchfield up in the air, women's 125, just a whole bunch of, wow, that sure was a thing that happened. Moving on to UFC 316.
Ben, back to you, because Jed kind of laid out the follow-up here. Because Erin Blanchfield was pretty pissed off. She was pissed she couldn't fight. She was pissed Maycee Barber missed weight. She had a lot to say in the aftermath. And Ben, some people say, look, all's fair in the fight game and fight promotion and fight fallout. And some say, look, yes, Maycee missed weight, but this was out of her control. The health issues, let's not pour salt in the wound. What do you think? What side are you on with this?
I think especially considering that Erin Blanchfield not only got the show, not only got the win, but then also got 20% of Barber's purse. I mean, it was financially a great night for cold-blooded Blanchfield. At the end of the
Oh, boom.
Wow.
It was,
he's back. He's so back.
I was about to do my best Bane impression right there. I was going to put on the announcer voice and just go.
Oh, no.
Oh, I might still get the opportunity.
Get your hat.
It was financially.
God.
Oh, he's back again.
You have to do
All
some
right.
push-ups, Jed.
So-
All right, he's so back.
So sometimes you get a phone call. No, I think that we have seen milder reactions to more severe trash talk from fighters. I think that there's been some more explosive, extreme things that people have said that hasn't drawn the backlash to Blanchfield's comments, right? So at the end of the day, yeah, all of them war. It's a fight, and this is the second time now that Barber has pulled out against Blanchfield. So I get Erin's frustration. I personally am not going to condone the language and be like, yeah, let's totally kick her while she's down. But listen, Erin's entitled to say and do whatever she wants in this situation, and that's how she wanted to play the cards.
Jed, on Saturday on the post-fight show, as this all was going down, I was like, there's no way this fight happens. Even on to the next one, there's no way the UFC goes back to this well. The more I think about it, if there's one thing the UFC loves, it is a heated storyline. And I know Erin has said she has no interest in fighting her, Jed. Maycee, like you said, is waiting for answers as to what caused this health issue. So we don't know when she's coming back. And while Erin is a very good fighter, she is certainly not a star. She doesn't draw a lot of money for the UFC. And as Dana White says, you know how we feel about fighters turning down fights. If they offer Erin Blanchfield, Maycee Barber, and she says no, and then Maycee goes on and fights somebody else and wins, you know how the UFC likes to conduct their business. They do this for whatever reason. So do you think, Jed, because of all this, that the UFC does try to go back to this well to pay this off pretty quickly? Or do they move on? Or are they hopeful like maybe one of these women will win a title and then we can book this fight?
Yeah, I think they'll go back to the well at some point, but not next. Preferably, with a title on the line, because there's a little bit of heat there. There's a story that can be told, even though the UFC doesn't even really care about telling stories anymore. They just care about cashing them ESPN checks. But that is a thing that they would do in the future. I don't think it makes sense to do it now, especially given Barber's so up in the air. Theoretically, you would want Erin Blanchfield to compete soon, because I know that I think we are in agreement, Mike. I don't know if Ben's on board. I think a lot of people are of the thought that Zhang Weili is going to be challenging Valentina Shevchenko next at some point this year. That fight seems to make all the sense in the world. And so given that, you probably want Blanchfield to be either, could theoretically serve as a backup, though there's also the Natty Silva thing going on. And so mostly you just want her to fight because you should just make the Natalia Silva fight, and that's a clear-cut number one contender for the winner of the Zhang Weili Valentina Shevchenko fight. And you're going to want her to compete, and it doesn't seem like Maycee Barber is likely to compete, frankly, this year. I hope that I'm wrong, because it would be better for her, obviously, to get this settled. But given the sort of peculiarity around this, you can't feel confident putting Maycee Barber in a main event until this gets sorted. And this fight does feel probably like a main event somewhere. And so, no, you just table it. Erin Blanchfield fights Natalia Silva. Maycee Barber gets healthy, and we can come back to this later if the stars align.
Ben, is this a fight the UFC offers both fighters sometime this year? Again, we don't know what's happening with Maycee, or do they move on and, hope the iron strikes and one wins a title, and then we could book this as a co-main event for a pay-per-view and stack the deck, I guess.
Normally I would caution against when you have a great fiery matchup between two people and delaying it. We see this in boxing all the time. Hell, just last week, look at Plant and Charlo, right? Just do the fight. Don't have them fight separate people. But I think I agree with Jed largely in this, and that, I just don't have reliability on Maycee Barber's side. And, this isn't the first pullout. This is the second pullout in a row. She hasn't competed since March 2024. So I feel the way that you match make it is, either backup or Silva for Blanchfield, and maybe Barber, Jazz Davicius, if Maycee is healthy enough to compete later this year. And then hopefully it all comes back with some gold on the line.
Yeah, women's flyweight. I mean, the women's divisions have had a hard time getting any buzz right now. That's why they need to really book Valentina versus Zhang to try to get a little bit of a boost here. And this fight would have moved 125 forward a little bit, and unfortunately it didn't happen. So we'll see what happens with Maycee Barber. We'll see what happens with Erin Blanchfield. We'll see what's going on with the women's flyweight division. Let's check out the latest in the UFC's heavyweight division, ladies and gentlemen, in the big fight that no one wants to get rid of. No one wants to get out of their heads. The point for round one goes to Jed because, tech difficulties.
I'm a loser. I don't have people calling me during the show because I'm not popular like Ben.
You know what? If there is a rematch, I'm going to sabotage you. I'm going to have your line ringing nonstop, Jed. You're going
to... I'm in. That'd be great.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, guys.
I'm used to coming from behind, so.
Nice.
Okay, well.
That's a real Brian Campbell statement.
That's some BC stuff right there. But gentlemen, the Tom Aspinall John Jones story has taken a twist. It's taken a turn with one half of this potential mega fight officially and publicly throwing in the towel. He has waved the white flag, at least in a public forum. Jed, we have been consistent from Jump Street. This fight isn't going to happen. Let's move on. We've been telling people since November of 2024, guys, forget about it. This fight is not going to happen. We've been saying it since the build to UFC 309 when John Jones was like, nah, man, we got to fight Stipe. Nah, man, we got to fight Alex Pereira. That's the fight. Who the hell's Tom Aspinall? He hasn't deserved anything. We should all move on. Tom needs to move on. And then, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Aspinall seems to have moved on. Dana White may not have moved on, but Tom Aspinall has. He tells ESPN, I am the undisputed champion. And then he says, quote, this is from the great MMAfighting.com, transcribing the ESPN interview. I'm not looking to fight John Jones. I'm looking to fight for the undisputed heavyweight championship. That's what I want to be. I want to be the UFC undisputed heavyweight champion. I see a lot of people comparing me to Jed Meshu's favorite fighter, Michael Chandler. He dropped your name and everything, Jed. Michael Chandler waited for a long time for Conor McGregor. I'm not waiting for one fight. I'm not trying to fight one guy. I'm trying to fight all the guys. I'm trying to be the guy at heavyweight who takes out everybody. So, Jed, let me ask you, is this the end of the yellow brick road officially now that Tom Aspinall has found the wizard and jumped off the John Jones train? Are we on the road to the MMA community moving on after Tom Aspinall said what he has said to not only ESPN, but to TNT Sports and other outlets as well?
No, the yellow brick road ended miles ago. We've been in the woods. We've been diving deeper into the forest trying to chase a thing that doesn't exist. The yellow brick road, we haven't seen that in a year almost, Mike. Like, this man is approaching 600 days as interim champion. This ain't no yellow brick road. This is really good business from Tom Aspinall. I think I've said it on air. I don't remember. We talk about this all the time at this point in time. I definitely wrote an article earlier this year where I was like, here's what Tom Aspinall needs to do. Just say you're the champ. Just don't talk about John. Don't even call him out. You don't have to. You just be like, yeah, I'm the heavyweight champ looking to defend my belt. Because what's John going to do? There are no good answers for John Jones with Tom's new tack. His answer is either you're not the champ because we're going to fight. Oh, no, I have to fight you. That's only the thing I really want to do. Or it's, yeah, you're the champ. You win, buddy. I retire. Like, you have put John in a box by saying, with no animosity, hey, man, you've had a wonderful career. Wish you all the best. You're going to do great in your post-fighting life. I'm the champ. Want to get this division moving again? Let's get going. Like, this is the master stroke. It probably took him a little too long to get here at this point in time, but it's fine because this is the way to play this. It is going to force theoretically, Dana White will do a post-presser this weekend, though he skipped the last one. Conspiracy Jed thinks he genuinely skipped it because he didn't want to have to talk about this. At some point, Dana is going to get interviewed and be asked about this fight and the John Jones thing, and Dana's going to continue to lie or whatever, but Tom's taken the initiative. And the only response John really has now is to give him one of two good outcomes. So well done, Tom Aspinall. Glad we got here. Very excited for the Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane fight that everyone is going to hate and will probably not be fun. But you know what it will be? real. It will be a real fight that actually happens between two competing heavyweights for the title of best heavyweight that competes.
Ben, what say you? Because the real question here is not, were we right? Were we wrong? Now Tom is on board. Because I mean, literally since January of last year, I've been like, Tom doesn't need to attack John. Tom doesn't need to talk trash about John. He just needs to say, I'm the real champ. I want to defend my belt because I'm the undisputed champion. It took him a long ass time, but here we are. But now that Tom has essentially moved on, at least publicly, do you think the MMA community, the UFC fan base follows, at least until Dana White does another piece of media business?
I agree with Jed in that it feels like everybody's already been moved on. I mean, this is such a dead horse that they keep trying to Frankenstein and bring back. I am personally just not interested unless there's real development, right? I know that UFC Paris was just announced for September, I believe. There it is. It's going to be Gane and Aspinall, the only person that Tom hasn't beaten in the top five, which in my opinion he does in great electrifying fashion. And then we can just pick things off in the right way. And there's some more life in this division, and it's not held hostage by a man who is more interested in playing around in Thailand doing God knows what than being an actual defending champion. So yeah, this has been dead, and I've been over it. And Tom, I credit him for the pleasantry and the charm and politeness that he's approached this situation with. You know, in the octagon, hey John, I've got nothing against you. I just want to fight you. I think I'm better than you. Holding the duck up front row. That's all cute. That's all great. But to Jed's point, this is the silver bullet. Back him in this corner. Bring out the mean streak. I'm fucking over it, you know? And I think Tom is too, finally.
So Ben, what is the Cyril Gane fight the one to make? Because I don't think it's going to happen on that card unless they turn it into a pay-per-view. They're certainly not going to put the heavyweight championship on the line in a main event of a fight night. I just don't see it happening. Would they put like a women's interim title fight as a main event of a fight night? Yes. Would they put the heavyweight championship of the world with how they look at this division and how they feel about placement of heavyweight bouts on their cards? I just don't see it happening. But if you were the matchmaker, because it would make sense for Paris.
Not only
is this the fight you would
championship, well, not only is the heavyweight championship going to be on the line for this fight night in Paris, but the welterweight championship is also going to be on the line. This is going to be JDM Islam and then Gane and Aspinall on the headliner. I think that's the perfect card that you can make for Paris. And fight night accessibility is the key, right? Best ability is availability. So that's going to be a great doubleheader for that fight night.
Jed, you already prefaced this, right? You said, by the way, you're smirking, and I love this, which means something brilliant is about to happen.
I'm fully with Bane here. That's a hell of a fight night. Let's do that.
It's a terrific fight night. Might be the greatest fight night of all time. But Cyril Gane's win in his last fight, not good. He did not fight well.
No.
No one thought he won that fight. So everyone has been like, yeah, I guess you could do Tom versus Cyril, but it's not because like people want to see the fight. They just want to see Tom active in fighting. But let's say the UFC calls you up, Jed Meshew, and they said, all right, we're moving on from John. By the time Tom's fight happens, whenever that may be, he will be the undisputed heavyweight champion if he wins. So the undisputed heavyweight champion will be crowned when Tom Aspinall fights blank. Jed, who are you throwing Tom Aspinall in there with? Because I don't think Cyril Gane is like the correct fight, but based on what this division currently looks like, maybe he is. I don't know. Like, how would you book it?
This is very easy. This is just a layup. I've said this a bunch already. There's no reason whatsoever for Alex Pereira to fight Magomedov Ankalaev again. No one cares. Nobody cares at all. Do the exact same thing you did when Izzy colded you. All right, I'm going up to heavyweight, and heavyweight's a dumpster fire. We don't even need you to fight a Jan Blachowicz. Screw it. Alex Pereira, Tom Aspinall, make that is at least something that will, because whatever fight you book for Tom Aspinall, if you book Cyril Gane, you are going to be excoriated because the gulf between Aspinall Jones and Aspinall Gane is immense. Even if Aspinall Jones is always a fantasy, people will just be upset by that. You know how you make them not care? You just do the Alex Pereira thing because it's cool and it's fun. Is he deserving? Probably not. Who gives a shit? Let's have some level of fun with this because we spent the past 2 years not having fun and collectively engaging in the John Jones adoration session. Like, we just do that. Be like, hey, Alex, I think he just gave a message like this week or whatever. It's like, healing up, gonna fight soonish or whatever. Sick. Alex, we don't give a shit if you fight Magomed. Magomed probably wants that because it's the biggest fight. Who cares? We're giving up on 205. Let Yuri fight Magomed. That'll be fine for us. Why don't you fight Tom Aspinall? This is something we can promote, something people will be interested in. And hey, if you win, you're just the most incredible fighter that's ever lived. Like, who knows? Like, I won't understand how to tell your story because I'm not sure you were ever the best guy in your weight class, in any weight class, but somehow you're a 3-division champion, which is unparalleled. So that's it. Do that. It's very, very easy. And, for me, I don't think the UFC is thinking this way. Just a little bit of an F you to John Jones. Oh, you drug your feet to fight Francis and you drug your feet to fight Tom. You really wanted to fight Alex? Tom gets it. Screw you.
Tom should have called out Pereira after he beat Curtis Blades. That would have been absolutely brilliant. Just steal the thunder, steal the opponent,
Just call him
even
out
if you don't
right
get
now.
it. Yeah,
Just call him
do
out
it.
right now. Just
Do
be
it.
like, hey,
Still can.
I'd like to
Yeah.
make my first defense against Alex Pereira. That seems fun. Let's do that.
Love it. That'd be a huge fight. The silver medalist in this conversation, at least for me, if Derek Lewis beats Taliesin Teixeira, just throw Derek Lewis in there because he's going to be fun. Like, he'll get got. He might do the thing and bolt Aspinall with the big shot, but more than likely he's just going to get run over and he'll get got really good and the build to the fight will be fun. So let's just have some fun. I am in complete agreement.
I like the schools of thought on display. I don't hate any option here. I think personally, I'm going to still side with the Gon fight, not because it's an exciting one, right? More so than those other aforementioned, but I just love the idea of Tom Aspinall beating the fuck out of every single ranked heavyweight. For whatever reason, him collecting every name currently listed is cool. Kind of more interesting to me than Alex getting buried at 265 and then there's nothing left for him to do ever inside the UFC or Derek getting the same situation.
Alex doesn't need to do anything else in the UFC anyway. He's 36 and been fighting for 20 years.
Young man. He's a young man.
In these weight classes, yes. The disrespect we're all giving to one, I think the second longest win streak in the division, Mr. Waldo Cortez Acosta, who is fighting this weekend. Big win over Sergey Spivak. Maybe we just do Salsa Boy versus Tommy Aspinall for the undisputed title. You think fans are going to be pumped on that instead of the John Jones-Tom fight?
I mean,
some would say that Waldo Cortez is bigger.
Listen, at the end of the day, the UFC would never. This might be the first time, and we have to go back and look through. Outside of it being like a featured prelim to try to sell a pay-per-view like a Jailton Almeida Curtis Blades, this is maybe the first ranked heavyweight fight that has not been put in a prime position on a UFC card in forever. This is two ranked dudes. They're on the ESPN prelims, so you can make the case oh, cool. They're on the ESPN prelims, more eyeballs upon them, but they're just in the middle of the pack. They're not in the featured spot. They're not in the main card. I can't remember the last time ranked heavyweights were just all right, it's just a rando prelim fight that we're putting on a card. That's how much the UFC is putting over Waldo Cortez Acosta and one Sergey Spivak. And perfect transition because we are heading to Newark. We're heading to UFC 316. The point for round 2 goes to well, I believe Jed had the better answer. The fan base is going to side with Ben the Bane Davis because he just booked a free double championship fight night card featuring Islam Makhachev and Tom Aspinall in Paris. What an electric crowd. Unbelievable.
All tied up.
All tied up. Never happens on this show. But guys, we have UFC 316 coming up on Saturday in Newark, New Jersey. 2 title fights, stakes-filled main card. But boy, there is just no buzz for this card, Ben Davis. We're just crawling slowly our way into Saturday night. Media day yesterday was rough. We learned nothing new at all. some just awful questions from media members who were there. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just telling it like it is. And to me, maybe outside of Julianna Pena and Kayla Harrison a touch, this media day didn't sell one pay-per-view. Now, I like this main card. I like a couple of the other fights on the prelims, but the times have certainly changed, Ben Davis, and what a UFC pay-per-view was 10 years ago to what it is now. So let me ask you, Ben, in the year of our Lord 2025, is UFC 316 good? Is this a good card?
I think it depends on whether or not you're blind or not, right? If you can see, then you'll probably go, yeah, this isn't the greatest of cards. It's a main event that the first fight was pretty lackluster, and I would say not all that exciting, didn't have big moments. And in my opinion, an immediate rematch for Sean doesn't show that there's going to be anything different in this second fight. So I think people are going, all right, main event's going to be a second serving of that. Co-main, you've got a minus 700 favorite in Kayla Harrison, a very dislikable champion in Julianna Pena, who I mean, if there was like any fire attached to this card, Julianna Pena would somehow be able to pour water all over it. So I think that Harrison ushers in a great era, and people are just waiting for that belt to be around her waist, and then maybe we'll get excited. I'm personally pretty interested in Patchy Mix. I know that in the sludge of UFC 316, the former Bellator champion's debut has gone a little bit under the wayside. But guys, this is justice for Jose Aldo. Let's not get this twisted. UFC 316, I could give a shit about anything else. But if Patchy Mix can get a big old win on Mario Bautista, then I'm a happy camper.
Jed, that must be music to your ears right there, being the Jose Aldo guy. But is this pay-per-view good, Jed? Like, do we look at this? Because we'll go on a preview show and we'll talk about it, but you're shaking your head. This is, to you, this is not a good pay-per-view.
I mean, good's a relative term. So, this is a good card in the concept of a lot of the cards, regardless of pay-per-view, fight night, whatever, have been not good this year, right? Like, this is obviously better than last weekend's card. You also have to pay $80 for 5 of the fights on this card, which is, a real price. We wrote about this for our roundtable preview of 316, and I was pretty unflinching. And there are some good and interesting fights, right? Like, I just like Josh Van. I don't think the Bruno Silva fight will be that interesting, but I do think Josh Van is very good. 2 title fights. I'll get to those in a second. Patchy Mix versus the man who I've decided I just won't name forever. His name is Mud forevermore. So Patchy Mix is fighting a dude, and I hope he kills him. And then just a bunch like Kevin Holland, Vicente Luque might be fun. That could be a fun little matchup, but the best fight on this card is probably the co-main. If you're just looking at like, here's something new and different with an interesting storyline rolled up into it because of the whole Amanda Nunes thing. I also anticipate Kayla Harrison is going to kill her, and that will be fun because nobody likes Julianna Pena. So there's that. The main event, I've been debating how much I should be comfortable saying this, and I've decided I'm going to be all the way comfortable. I don't care for Merab Dvalishvili. He seems like a nice enough man. He's a very good fighter, and I want to be clear. I'm separating him being a good fighter from being an interesting fighter. He just is not fun to watch and has never been fun to watch for me. If you like him, cool, but every time he is headlining an event, it is going to be a bad event because he is headlining the event. And worse off, he is headlining the event in a rematch with the guy he just beat 9 months ago in a not especially competitive fight. Maybe things are different. Maybe the torn labrum, affected him. Maybe Sean O'Malley just has a better game plan this time. Like, hopefully, because if Sean O'Malley doesn't do anything different to make this fun, we are ending Saturday night on a bummer ass fight because it's a Merab Dvalishvili fight. And he's very, very good, but I do not respect his game whatsoever. And I don't want to watch 25 minutes of a CrossFit competition. If I wanted to do that, I would watch CrossFit, which is an option and usually doesn't come on at 2 in the goddamn morning.
First of all, don't shame CrossFit. No, I'm just kidding.
I
you're excited?
Watched CrossFit before. And again,
it's very fun.
CrossFit is very difficult. I am not disparaging the difficulty of it. I'm disparaging my level of entertainment. And cardio wrestling is just not fun for almost anyone to watch.
So 1 to 10, Jed, what's your excitement level for this fight? Like, has it grown since the
For
round
this
table or
fight?
no?
For the card
For
as
the
a
main
whole,
event.
I'm a little more on it. For the main event, like a 2. Like
A 2?
I think Sean O'Malley has like a better chance than some people are giving him to at least make this a little bit better. But nah, man, like this fight is stupid and shouldn't be happening, which also just infuriates me. And it's just not going to be a fun one, more likely than not. Like, have y'all gone and rewatched the first one? Would you say you had a good time rewatching it? No, because it's not fun. Because it's Merab fighting, and he is not fun to watch. And the overwhelmingly more likely thing is Merab being Merab for 25 minutes at 1:30 in the morning.
Wait a minute, though. Merab-O'Malley was fun as hell. That was a fun fight. It was very fun.
Merab-O'Malley was competitive, intense. It's still not like a fun to go rewatch, but it was competitive, intense.
Really?
And like, yeah, like it was. Again, Merab does my core issue. Merab has never once in his career tried to hurt somebody. It's not what he does. He accidentally knocked out Marlon Moraes in the middle of his 7-fight get knocked out streak. Like, he doesn't, if you are not going in to attempt to do harm to another person, you can still be a great fighter, which he obviously is, but you are not an interesting one. And he is not going to try and hurt Sean O'Malley. He is going to try and tackle Sean O'Malley. And I am not here to watch the NFL OTAs and the tackling drills. I could do that on ESPN, not pay $80 for it on pay-per-view.
Ben, Jed is at a 2.
I'm just done pretending like we have to respect Merab. We have to respect his greatness because it is real. We do not have to respect any other part of him. And I don't.
Wow.
Jed, I hear you. And listing the excitement level for this main event at a 2 is absolutely well within your sandbox. I'm going to give it a 2.1. So the torn labrum
Price
is
is
an
right,
interesting
right,
conversation.
Price is right in me.
I'm going to give it a 2.1. I do think that there is a level of legitimacy to that torn labrum. I think that the 5th round of Merab and Sean is interesting because it shows the blueprint of what Sean needs to do in this rematch. The question is, can he do it? I agree that there's such disinterest in the lack of time in between. It's 9 months. Sean didn't have a fight to display that he sharpened those tools or added to his skill set. So there's no confidence in me that he'll level it up. But I just think that recovering from the labrum, not Jay and the Peen as he calls it, social media, all that, right? I'm going to give it a 2.1 as opposed to a 2, purely for those extracurriculars that Sean's not engaging in.
I think my level has gone up. From when this fight was announced, I was like, oh God, this not again. I don't need to see this again. But I think the storylines that have been built in it and just like talking to different people about it, who have had like in-depth conversations with both fighters, like talking to a guy like John Anik, it kind of changed your perspective a little bit because obviously Sean O'Malley was not at his best in this first fight, but Merab wasn't either. If we're being honest, like Merab just kind of cruise controlled his way into a win, and maybe that's his style. We kind of saw that in the 5th round in the Umar fight, which kind of thwarted 20 minutes of really fun stuff. But O'Malley just having this different mindset to him, and yeah, the life changes have been a big story. I think why I'm so interested in this fight is because of the worlds we could possibly live in, Ben Davis, because the fallout of this fight is where the money is, in my opinion. So let me ask you, what is the more interesting world to live in? Sean O'Malley losing and then losing 2 straight to Merab and kind of seeing where the sugar show goes, and Merab adding another win to that fucking ridiculous resume and this case to be the bantamweight GOAT, even though some people think he's already there, or Sean winning back the belt and we're getting prime Sean O'Malley at 30 years of age as champion. What's more interesting to you, Sean regaining or Sean losing and then trying to figure out, now what the hell do you do?
If I'm defining the answer to this question on the term interesting, then I have to side with Sugar Sean getting the belt back, because now you think about a rematch with Piotr Jan, you tack on 10 more minutes to that barn burner. Come on, that's excellent. Corey Sandhagen right back up in the mix. That's a fight that we've wanted for years, and it's evaded us, but now might be the right time if Sean O'Malley can get that belt around his waist. I think Merab winning, like you mentioned, would be impressive in that it adds to this just stellar resume. And he's a workhorse, and you just can't take away what he's accomplished. But when you think about the steps after another win over Sean O'Malley, what is it? A Piotr Jan rematch? That's even more uninteresting. Sandhagen, I suppose that could be an interesting one, but it's just not as interesting as Corey and Sean. So to answer that question, I gotta say O'Malley getting the belt back. What I would say be better for both that division, the company, and my interest level.
Obviously, you're with that, Jed, considering how you
It
feel
has to
about
be
Merab. But
because
they could also,
the
go back to a
boring fighter
trilogy
won't
fight.
have the belt. That there's a 0% chance if Sean sneaks one away, they're never doing that. Why would they possibly be like, oh, let's run this again so we can give our boring guy another chance to have the belt? Like,
What if Sean wants it though? What if he asks for it?
Jesus God, why would we ever, like, Sean could just rematch somebody else? I can't imagine they would do that, because also, like, are the fans gonna want that? Like, is there the Merab hive out there who's gonna be like, it was a fluke, we must see it again? No, because it's boring and nobody cares. Like, you gotta pick Sean, and that's part of my fury at this fight, Mike. I am forced to root for Sean O'Malley, who I don't particularly care for. I don't have like any major issues with him, but like not my favorite dude. And I am stuck being like, man, I really hope that smoking weed is a superpower in wrestling, or not smoking weed is a superpower for wrestling, and he can stuff takedowns or land like one perfect knee so we can get out from the yoke of Merab's efficiency. Like, I comped Merab, and here's the thing, because again, I'm saying a lot of really mean things about Merab, and I get it. And if you want to be angry at me, I understand it, and I'll wear that on the chin. My issue with Merab is the same. Like, James Harden made me quit watching basketball, because yes, he was very good, and I could not respect his game less. I have no interest in watching somebody get free throws and 3-pointers. That's just not interesting to me at all. That is my issue with Merab. And so I will sell my soul if it means we get him out of there, and maybe somebody else can get Sean O'Malley out of there, and we can have somebody I like, am interested, or like maybe Patchy Mix can do it. That would be cool. Patchy Mix, you know what's fun about Patchy Mix? He tries to hurt people. It's a novel concept in fighting that the champion has never heard of. He attempts to hurt them and not just make them very, very tired.
And Mike, may I add
Wow.
this really quickly? There's a lot of intrigue to me in Merab losing, because we have never seen him bounce back from defeat. That version of Merab, right? The possibility of a Merab who goes, you know what? Didn't get my hand raised for once. How will he come back from that? Maybe he does flip that kill switch, and we see Merab that just goes crazy and never wants to taste that L again. So I think that also is an interesting, pipeline that could come out of this. Is what would Merab look like if he doesn't win a fight for once?
That would honestly be the best outcome, is Merab losing like a questionable decision. So then maybe Merab could be like, oh, I should perhaps try to hurt people in fights and not leave it in the hands of the judges. And maybe, because it's not like he can't do it is the thing. He just chooses not to.
Mhm.
To your point, Mike, he does it all the time. He just coasts in in the 5th round when he could be putting a stamp on things. He's like kissing Sean, and because he's like, he doesn't have the tool. I don't know why, where he's like, I want to try and be interesting in this way because I can't be interesting in a visceral, I'm going to choke a man out and finish him sort of way. Like, he could try harder in that regard. He's obviously incredibly talented, but that's not what he's done. And let me also just say, because I forgot to mention this, it would also mean John Anik is again taking an L for prematurely goading somebody. And I like John Anik. I have a lot of respect for him. But his insistence that MMA started when he started commentating for the UFC, and that things that happened before he did were meaningless, and that's why Merab is the GOAT, is the most infuriating shit in the world. I'm not even a Dom Cruz fan, but that man is very obviously the bantamweight GOAT. And this would be quite funny if he immediately lost after John Anik was like, he's already the GOAT.
I will add this. I like Merab's showboating in that it's unique, it's interesting. We don't see many fighters take these types of, risks in fights where they're going, "Oh, where'd that strike go?" I do enjoy that Merab's added that to the arsenal because it adds to the entertainment value. But Jed, I agree to your point, right? If you're going to be showboating, why not kick it up a notch as well, right? You can't have the cake and not eat it, right?
Hold on one
Did we lose
second.
Mike? There's Mike. I was
No,
like,
I'm here. I'm here.
I was like, did I accidentally become host and I didn't know? I was checking
No.
my side for a message from Casey.
Sorry. Yeah, I just got a bunch of information about the Greg Hardy arrest, so I'm passing that along
boy.
to the rest of the
Oh,
staff.
terrific.
So there you go. But
What a
let's
guy.
talk more UFC 316, huh? The point for round 3 goes to.
I bet it's not the guy who just shat all over the bantamweight champion.
It goes to Jed the Machine Mashuishvili. How about that?
Come on!
Mike
Come
doesn't like
on!
Merab either. He just won't say it to the masses.
Guys,
The fix is in. The fix is in.
Listen, I haven't displayed the BTL golden rule since like episode 1. It ain't about whether I agree with you or not. It's about the context of your argument, how much you believe in it. Really? That's what this is all about. Okay? So Jed gets the point. Ben Davis trying to tie this up, perhaps to get us a knockout round. Jed, as we talked about, there is way more buzz for Julianna Pena versus Kayla Harrison than Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley too. These two women do not like each other. People are getting heated about this fight on social media based on just other people's opinions about it. Most in the MMA community, from at least from what I've seen, are on the Kayla is just going to annihilate Julianna Pena in a fight that is not competitive for a second. And anybody who disagrees, those people are just hammering down on anybody giving Julianna Pena a chance. What are the vibes like for you, Jed? We're getting ready to have a watch party and watch this fight, Julianna Pena versus Kayla Harrison. We're just 2 days away from this going down. What are the vibes like for you?
I mean, this is the one I'm hoping for because I'm anticipating our watch party main event. I'm trying real hard not to be grumpy at it. Like I'm trying to get my mind right so I can not be like, oh, here's Merab doing that thing again. Yay. This is so fun. But what I'm really hoping is that the co-main will be a banger. And there are massive questions before we get there. Is Kayla going to make weight? Have no idea. Never seen it before. We've never seen her hit 135. Hope they've got like a professional working the scale tomorrow. Not a digital, one of those guys who just puts the number. Oh, we're good. That's it. 135 on the dot. Let's move on with business. And I hope that she isn't like dead to do it because she's cut obviously an enormous amount of weight to make this. It can't be healthy for her long or short term, frankly. But if this does get to the fight is for the belt. My hope is that Kayla Harrison gets to put on a show on Saturday, gets to do the thing we all kind of foresaw for her when she got into MMA in general. Yes, it's a little bit nicer than Julianna Pena, who I maintain is actually not good at fighting. Again, there's a real chance that Saturday there are two champions, one who's good at fighting and I hate, and one who I don't think is good at fighting, but like keeps being the champion, which is weird, could leave Saturday. And so my hope is that won't happen. And primarily that Kayla will do the thing and we can set up the Amanda Nunes fight for, it's not going to save the division, but it will certainly be something for us to talk about and be excited about. The one major caveat, Mike, it would be undeniably one of the funnier things that's ever happened in the sport if twice Julianna Pena screwed up the Kayla Harrison Amanda Nunes fight. Objectively, that would be quite funny if she did this 2 times.
Ben, do you like this fight? Do you think this is going to be a blowout? Do you think Pena is going to be more competitive than people are giving her credit for? I think she's going to be. Honestly, like there is a war where Kayla just annihilates her, but I think she only has a short period of time in which to do so. And the longer this fight goes, Julianna Pena becomes very live. And maybe I'm dead wrong, but that's just the way I've seen it. And this is the way I've seen it since day one. What do you think about it?
Mike, since losing that point in round 3, I've been doing a lot of reflecting. And I think procuring points in this game is all hinged on passion. And I must admit and confess that if I were to pontificate on this co-main event, then it would be inauthentic because my passion and how I'm going to win round 4 and tie this thing up is taking it to the middleweight division with Joe Pyfer and Kelvin Gastelum. I absolutely despise what Piper's been doing. I think that Joe is discounting Kelvin's ability. I think his mind is on everything else but the fight. And I think that he will once again be given a veteran test that he cannot pass, right? When you look at that Jack Hermanson bout that Joe Pyfer had, he was pretty unimpressive outside the first round, which makes sense considering that 9 of his 13 victories have come by KO largely inside the first 5 minutes. So for me, I'm looking at a guy in Joe who has trouble winning when it extends past 5 minutes, right? In any other way that's not knockout. And he's going up against a guy that has never been knocked out and has danced with the most talented middleweights potentially in UFC history. Whitaker, Cannonier, Adesanya, Darren Till, right? And I'm to believe that Joe Pyfer is the guy that's finally going to crack Kelvin and sit him down, when Joe has not done anything impressive to individuals that I would say are within the realm of Kelvin's skill set and orbit. That's baloney to me. That's absolute baloney. So this betting line is absurd, Mike. And I truly believe that Big Pubs Kelvin Gastelum is about to teach Joe Pyfer another lesson. Let's get some tacos, baby.
All right. I mean, I love the passion. That just shows where we're at with this card, where we're just skipping past the co-main event and jumping right into the featured bout. Obviously, we have, as Ben mentioned earlier, and we've touched on throughout, we have the debut of Patchy Mix in the UFC. And Bane, you've shown your excitement for this fight, and a lot of people are fired up for this. This is the hardcore fans' fight of the card because there are a good chunk of people who call themselves UFC fans who have no clue who Patchy Mix is. They literally have no idea who this man is, and they hate Mario Batista because he quote unquote beat Jose Aldo. And I've said this ever since this fight was announced, and I want to get your perspective on this. Outside of the main and co-main event fighters, there is not a single soul who has more on the line than Patchy Mix does on this card as he faces Mario Batista. He has to win. Not only does he have to win, I think he has to do so impressively. Do you agree with that? And where are you at with this fight? Like, how important is it for Patchy to be a focal point on post-fight shows around the world?
I do agree with that point. I do want to briefly say it would also be quite funny if Kelvin Gastelum beat Joe Pyfer and then got on the mic and was like, "I'm never coming to this shithole state ever again." Just be like, "Hey, Joe Pyfer, remember when you shat on the country of Mexico because you fucked up your own weight cut, you dumbass?" It would be quite funny if it's like, "Jersey sucks shit. I'm never coming back to this backwater ass state again. Come pick your boy up. I put him in a body bag." That would be unbelievable. God, I hope that happens. Probably won't. But for the Patchy Mix thing, I agree. I do think outside of the main event fighters, he has the most at stake here. This is his introduction. You know, first impression is the big one, right? Like that, you always want to make a good one, especially when your first impression in this case could straight up just get you a title fight. Bantamweight is pretty open right now. They're assuming if Merab wins, you know, probably a rematch with Piotr Jan. Maybe Corey Sandhagen's in there, but a nice performance from Patchy Mix. I think he can jump the line if he dazzles on Saturday. Got to do something impressive. He can't just win like a consummate 30-27 here. But if he comes in, makes a really big statement victory over the guy who I won't name, everyone, the hardcore fans will adore him more than they already do because he beat the unnamed fighter. And casual fans would be like, "Oh man, that dude's pretty cool. He should probably fight for the belt. He's a champion in another organization and just dummied this, you know, whatever the unnamed fighter is ranked, like 8 or something. Cool. That's something new and different. Let's do that." Conversely, if he loses, you never get another chance to make that impression again. He's sneaky, a little older. And so starting off on a loss, it's not catastrophic. We've seen fighters come to the UFC, lose their first fight and still kind of rebound, but puts him really behind the 8 ball in obviously a very talent stacked division. So the delta between two outcomes, I think, is there's no bigger delta out there than between a win and a loss for Patchy Mix on Saturday.
You agree with that, Bane?
I do. I think that Patch's Mix is in a very special position. When you think about perfect times to debut, especially in bantamweight, this might be one. And look at what some former Bellator champs have done in their debuts, right? Iron Mike Chandler with Dan Hooker. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. So, it bodes pretty well for Patch's Mix here in this position. And I will add this 15 finishes in Patchy's 20 victories. Both of Mario's losses are by finish. So I kind of like the odds here. And, I think, again, I'm going to keep riding this train. I'm going to be conducting this. It's for Jose. It's for Jose, baby. And I think Patchy recognizes that. And I'll say this on the press conference, or excuse me, the media day, he said this isn't a step up in competition. What Patchy said. It's not a step up in competition. And with respect to Mario Bautista,
Hot.
I agree with Patchy. Yeah, I agree completely with Patchy. I think that he's fought harder tests. And, Mario, this is going to be a tough fight for him, but it's an opportunity. Right. I think Mario should recognize we're in sports entertainment. And if you're just going to discount all of the feedback from your last fight and say, I had to do what I had to do, it's his fault too, blah, 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 excuses. Listen, right? Maybe Mario goes out here, tries to put on a banger. And I go, you know what? You lost, but I dislike you less, and that's worth some points.
Can Mario get over it all, Jed? Like if he wins, is there any way he can get over with you at all?
Here's the thing. The thing about the unnamed fighter that is so frustrating is he was not a boring fighter prior to the Jose Aldo match. Like he was a fun dude. And like, that was the saving grace to the Aldo fight. I was like, oh, this at least will be pretty fun. It doesn't make sense. It's kind of a stupid matchup, but at least it'll be fun. And then the unnamed fighter comes in, lays an egg, and then just like dies on the hill that actually I am smart and a genius. And like, this just goes to all fighters who I can't imagine any professional fighters watching at this point after I shat on the bantamweight champion of the world for 15 solid minutes. But like, if you're ever in a situation where the public at large is telling you that sucks, we don't like it, the correct response is not, I'm smart and you're stupid. The correct response is, shit, maybe I won, and that is what matters most. But maybe I can take a lesson and not be like, Philistines, you want blood and guts, and I gave you a terrific performance of holding a man around the waist and shutting down his offense. Don't be that guy. Just be like, hey, wasn't my best effort out there. I'll go back to being fun guy when Patchy Mix and I get rolling. If he comes in and does that, I'll at least respect that effort. I don't know that that's a good plan, frankly, against Patchy Mix, but he can't get over. He is dead to me. But I did really like what Bane said, because if we can now just Patchy Mix is just the avatar for Jose Aldo moving forward, I'm in. And when Patchy wins the bantamweight belt, Jose Aldo is actually a 2-division world champion. Hallelujah, the GOAT reigns.
Love that. I think if Mario Bautista wins in almost the exact same way, he needs to just eat that up. Get on the mic, be like, hey, all your favorite bantamweights, I'm just gonna hold them against the fence all the way until a title shot, and you're just gonna have to bear down and love it. There's nothing you can do about it. I think that'd be terrific. That would get over with me in a huge way.
I would respect it. I wouldn't like it. In the same way I respect Merab's game. I wouldn't like it, but I would respect it.
Last thing, quick prediction, 60 seconds or less. Bane, what will be fight of the night at UFC 316?
Listen, we haven't really touched on many of the prelims, but that featured one between Josh Van and Bruno Silva, I think is a pretty fun one on paper. Great strikers. Bruno packs a punch and is not afraid of going into the pocket. Neither is Van. So, I think both guys are looking for a big spotlight on this card, and I'm expecting some fun things from that flyweight affair.
Jed, I feel like Bane may have taken your answer here.
No, because it's a great answer. And I love Josh Van. Climb, baby. Let's go. But no, I think there are two answers that I could guess here. I will just throw a brief shout out to Ariana De Silva, Wang Song, because that might be fun. But I think the best bet, and frankly, Mike, perhaps our only bet for something fun to happen on the main card, given some of the fighters at play, It's Vicente Luque, Kevin Holland. Vicente Luque is historically an incredibly fun fighter. Kevin Holland, mostly fun, especially when he's not competing at middleweight and just getting mushed because he's not a middleweight. Vicente Luque, he's 33, but feels like he is a billion. Like just the oldest young man. Like he and Kelvin Gastelum need to have a club of we've been fighting forever and we're still quite young. Kevin Holland, I think, is probably going to win this fight, but Vicente Luque always just sort of overperforms my expectations in this late iteration. And Kevin Holland will be in there saying some stuff while he's getting tackled and things are happening. I think that's our best bet for something fun to go. So I'll pick that for my fight of the night.
All right.
I'd like
Are
to
we
give an
moving
honorable
on?
mention to
Oh, please.
ATFC's own Mark Choinsky. Late notice for the 155-pound champ. It's been a pleasure to commentate his last couple outings. Mark Choinsky, the Shark Baby, stepping into the UFC waters. Good luck. Tough fight.
Yes, Mark Almaderis is a guy to watch at 155. The point for round 4 goes to Bane. Bane gets it done. It's 2-2. Sun's out, guns out. All right. I wasn't sure where to go with this knockout round, but I feel like there's only one way we can go, and it's something we don't really do on the program that often. So, Jed, I will turn it over to you. Do you want to go first, or do you want to pass it over to Ben the Bane Davis? Because I feel like you guys are going to be on pretty much the same side of things here.
I'll go first. It's Ben's first time here. I wanted to see how it's done. Make sure he understands like what's at play. Give him a little more time to get ready, frankly. I'm an old hand, so I'll go first.
Okay, I think you know where we're going here.
I have no idea.
UFC. Look, the UFC's been making a lot of headlines, some positive, some negative. But how about the PFL this week, Jed? You brought them up earlier. PFL coming through, making some moves. They're taking the show on the road full time. No more WCW Saturday night style at Universal Studios and a television studio doing shows. Tickets are going to be starting at $25 for the fan base so that more people can afford to go to a mixed martial arts show. And then we find out today the PFL application is going to be bigger than ever with the new library. You can go back and watch all the old fights. In fact, I think Don set that up for himself so he could go watch mixed martial arts fights from his organization. So when someone asks what's his favorite MMA fight, he will have an answer because he has the library to go to. So Jed, talk about PFL and grade them for their first half of 2025, especially with this news this week. 60 seconds on the clock. Go.
Oh, I'm grading them. The news this week gets them up to a C, but I mean they were trending very poorly. But I'm just so proud of them. They're my baby. They were my draft team last time. I always wanted to do well. I have literally told Don Davis in your town halls that they should hire me as the Minister of Fun because they desperately need that. And I'm still waiting to hear back. We're working on details, but I do like that they have just started doing the shit I have said on this platform, on other platforms, written. The big thing I told PFL and I've tried to convey to them and the thing is like, you can't beat the UFC. You can't do it. So you just need to look at what the UFC does, and every complaint that fans have about the UFC, do the opposite of that shit. Fans hate the Apex? Don't go to the Orlando in your own Apex. That's dumb as shit. People want to watch your fights. Make it be so they can watch your fights. They are making improvements. It's probably not going to be enough long term, but I really like what they've done this past week.
All right. We go to Ben the Bane Davis. I mean, you've commentated for pretty much every organization in the world. Perhaps PFL might give you a call, but making moves, Ben. We've been waiting for them to do some stuff. They said that the fan-friendly organization, there hasn't been a lot of stuff to really go off of in order to prove that. But this week seems like they're heading in that direction. So talk about the moves they have made this week that they have announced publicly, and what do we grade PFL for the first half of 2025? Go.
If this week wasn't included, then there certainly would be a more negative impact. But with the announcement of $25 entry tier level tickets and this free app that allows you to watch every single PFL event, right? I've been complaining about not being able to tune into PFL Europe. Well, guess what? I can't bitch about it anymore. Don Davies has provided an answer. And I think that's the beauty of this. PFL is finally listening. They are hearing the feedback and logically digesting it and then creating action-oriented solutions, which I love. And think, there's been a couple canceled events. They've let a lot of great Bellator talent go. So that's kind of knocked them in the first half of this year. But I try and be a glass half full kind of guy. There's a lot left coming up. That gene seems to be the next big thing. Dakota Ditcheva, her rise is still being studied and has so much momentum. So I think that the next half of 2025, with these big announcements this week, is going to take it to a greater lettering. But my thought is going to be a C plus. I'm going to give it a C plus for the first half of 2025. Don, thank you for listening. Finally,
A C? What? You were a C minus, Jed?
I don't see something. I wasn't a C plus. So either C minus or C. I can't be expected to remember the things I just said, Mike. What do you take me for?
I mean, okay. I mean, I think it was a C minus, C plus for Ben, which is good because again, without this news, if we had this conversation back in March, we weren't in the C's. I could tell you that right now. But they have done a lot of fun things.
We certainly were not.
The tournament, the Grand Prix they've been doing, all those cards have been fun. Like, they've all been entertaining watches thus far. Them not putting Paul Hughes on TV or any sort of streaming service in the United States was an absolute such a fumble. They have fumbled things along the way, but they've let Patricio Pitbull go. They let Patchy Mix go. Johnny Eblen has a fight booked. Dakota Ditcheva, we'll see what happens this year with her. So they are at least trying to do stuff, and that's all we ask. Just try, and stop fucking with the UFC. Stop doing that. They're not fully doing that, but you're not the UFC. You need to find an identity, and they're at least trying to do so. So cast your vote. Is it Jed? Is it Bane?
Improvement. They still have the fundamental issue where they just pick a new day for whatever event they're happening. Maybe it's Thursday. Maybe it's Friday. Maybe it's Saturday morning. Who the hell knows? Could be any day, which is really good for building brand awareness when you don't have a consistent schedule.
Yeah,
just keep
and
me
on top
the toes.
of that,
just keep those Sunday night fights are going to hit like crack. You know what I mean? PFL keeping me on my edge, right?
But now they've got the app.
Especially when
now the app will let you get the push notifications on the PFL app. That's what you need.
Yeah. We have no TV deal for the international cards. I don't know if we have them for the Bellator Champion Series card yet. It's like all different platforms to watch all different events. Like you're not the UFC. Like the UFC can get away with this new broadcast deal if they stay with ESPN, which right now apparently they're the front runner in negotiations. But then sprinkle some with Netflix or sprinkle some with Amazon. Like they're the UFC. They can afford to be on multiple platforms. However, PFL cannot afford to be on multiple platforms. They need to be a one-stop shop. They need to be easily accessible. So,
Mike, I disagree. Mike, I think that there's such great opportunity on Fubo and Gleebop.net and Gimbo TV. I think that those audiences are going to really push the next generation of PFL's viewing experience.
You know what? It's funny you say that because I just put a chunk of my 401k into Gimbo TV, so I'm with you. I think they are really gonna shoot to the moon in 2025. One of those buy quick and just stay with them. Just stay with them.
Hold on, hold on to them. They're gonna
hold on tight. We do have a preview show tomorrow. We'll get you ready for UFC 316. We'll have the People's Pre-Fight show.
Am I gonna be on that? Do I have to be angry at Merab again tomorrow?
I mean, we might have to at this point, but we'll see. We'll see where we're at. We will have weigh-ins 9 a.m. live on the YouTube channel. Casey's here. People's Free Fight Show. We'll have the watch party. We'll have on to the next one live on Sunday. Post-show, all the comings and goings of UFC 316. Casey is here. Sleeves optional. He chose to go no sleeves to show Ben Davis what, in fact, is up. Casey, who won?
I don't know about this judge. Judge is looking like he has a vested interest.
Despite my best attempts, your winner today with 63% of the votes, Jed Meshew.
Whoa!
Call me
That's
Batman,
all you need.
because I am burying Bane.
Golly.
You know what, Jed? You wouldn't be the first.
You know, but that's what we respect about you, Ben. You're always willing to mix it up. You know, I'm happy to not be losing to you in Karate Combat or Misfits Boxing or what other shit you've done.
BKFC.
So many different BKFC. BKFC, man. I'd fight you in BKFC. That'd be fun. Well, fun might not be the right word. It'd be something.
I don't want to go back to BKFC.
It'd be something.
We'll do some Indian leg wrestling on Fight Circus. That'll be what we can compromise on.
Super in. Also, I mean, you know, Dan Hooker's backyard thing, open weight. Like we can get in there. Let's just have a little fun with some big Kiwis. That'd be a good time out there.
They gotta expand the rule set. I mean, they gotta let me, die for the legs if you're gonna put me against the heavyweights. I don't want to just be swinging and banging.
I'm just gonna be doing Imanari rules. That's what I'll be doing in Dan Hooker's rolling for the legs.
Jed, what would you like to say with your time in your victory speech here?
Well, this is actually really easy. I, in fact, do have something to say because a thing happened this week, and it is going to bring the mood down a little bit, but hopefully not too much. This week, the great Jordan Breen passed away. For many of you watching this who, are newer fans, don't really have any relationship or understanding who Jordan Breen was, what he meant to this space, I can say with absolute certainty that I would not be doing this or where I am without Jordan Breen's contributions. When the news broke, there was a huge outpouring on social media from people in the industry who all knew Jordan to some extent, were influenced by him, and there's reason for that. His passion, especially in the early days of MMA, he taught me how to be an MMA fan. There is a direct lineage for me personally between my love of the bizarre bozo nonsense aspect of this sport and Jordan Breen. He taught me how to do that basically. And so it is a great tragedy that he has passed, and I, don't need to get too saccharine or anything, but meant a great deal to me professionally. And I will always remember him quite fondly and his contributions to the sport.
Well said. There's not much more we can really add to that. RIP to Jordan Breen. Condolences to family, friends, everybody in the MMA media space, fighters who have discussed his impact on the sport and helping it grow, especially in the times where, the UFC had like no coverage and they were almost a dying breed, but the Jordan Breens of the world were doing radio shows and they were setting the table for honest coverage. It wasn't just, hey, the UFC is the best, get me backstage so I could do, TV partner interviews. It was, no, this is good, this sucked, and just being honest about the sport and then looking at it in a completely different way. Casey's here. I know you've spent some time with Jordan as well.
Yeah. I was gonna say it for the preview show tomorrow, but I'll say it again. Jordan, everything Jed just said about Jordan. He was one of the most influential people to really get me to. I was working in the sport, mind you, but I didn't really. It was a job, but Jordan. Listening to his beatdown after the bell episodes, especially after pay-per-views, really got me just to understand mixed martial arts and really appreciate it in all of its awesomeness and especially all of its stupidness. He was very good at pointing that out and just how great the sport was. And I knew Jordan well. Jordan lived with me for a month when he came to LA, and he was one of a kind, one of the most unique people I've ever met. Just an incredibly smart guy, and I'm just sad how it all ended for him. But at least I hope the memory of him kind of carries on. And I don't know, Google him, go back, try to find some old archives of his. Watch UFC 30 Beatdown After Bell, and just listen to him go for 45 minutes straight talking about the fights from the main event to the curtain jerker. It's just a great look back, and just like Joe Rogan in the early MMA years, early UFC years, kind of taught people how to watch the sport. I think Jordan Breen was just as influential to me, just in really making me. I'm sorry, I'm on the screen twice. I didn't realize that. Just made me really love the sport and kind of in a sense he trapped me. It's like I was like, oh man, I get it now. So Jordan Breen, you're a great dude, and it really bummed me out. I'm just sad about the whole thing.
Yeah,
Dude,
I mean, I can't really add any more to that.
plenty of people out that are, if you're in the MMA Twitter space, have already done some of this. Like Kaposa went back and found some stuff. If you have no concept of Jordan Breen, just go troll through those, find them. You can go listen to Old Beatdown After the Bells, Jordan Breen Show archives on the Sherdog Radio Network. Outside of what I already mentioned, directly, Jordan Breen was the first guy who did an all violence team, which I have shouted him out every year. I have done that for us. I think I've done 4 or 5 of them now. Like, he is the progenitor of that. Also, like, indirectly, he and Jack and Carnesal, and obviously some of the other people at Sherdog, did a rewind look back, just kind of looking at the history of the sport. You can go find those and hear Jordan Breen talk about like UFC 70 with Jack and Carnesal. Jordan is one of the very few people, when I got into the media space, that I was like literally excited to form any level of a relationship with, because he meant that much to me. And so really sucked, and rest easy, man.
Well said. Quick programming note. I know it's hard to transition from that. BTL is going to be on Tuesday next week, reacting to UFC 316, and we will leave you with a bit of a cliffhanger. An old friend is coming home to join us on Tuesday. More on that next week. Until then, everybody, have a great rest of your day. And there's the music.
Sorry to bring the energy down. But
yeah, I thought you were gonna let it breathe and just take us home. But okay, maybe Esterlin will have the final word.
Pick the energy back up.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. UFC 316 is the best. It's
happiness.
The best.
Yay!
It's good to have Bane here.
Again,
yes.
This is the thing. Jordan loves the silly, stupid parts of this sport like this is right now.
This has been Between the Links, an MMA fighting production on the Vox Media Network.